Let's talk to basketball Sprague, though. Basketball boy. How do we feel? Cooper Flagg, did it make a move?
It did.
Yeah.
Once I got cell service and we were hanging out at the river, I just opened Twitter to see if I'd missed a trade. And that was exactly the sound I made by myself under a tree in the shade.
Yeah.
People walking by, giving me weird looks. No, I mean, look, the highlights everywhere. Golliver's got them, sharing them all over. I'm still trying to set up something with Golliver that we can talk maybe once he's done in Vegas and gets back. But I will hear no other argument. They need to be. And look, you can certainly point to Detroit. Detroit's been the worst team in basketball the last 2 years. What's it gotten them? I don't care.
Doesn't matter.
The math says
odds.
Bottom 3 teams, best statistical odds of the number 1 pick.
Yep.
That's the objective. Yes, there are little things I'd like to see in next year's season. I'd like to see some growth in Scoot. I'd like to see Shea stay healthy and shoot 38+% from 3. I'd love to see the Klinger, show that his UConn experience is helping him at the next level and he can win quicker or help win, in the next 2-3 years instead of this taking 3-4 years. And Denny, let Denny continue to shoot same percentage. Everything else, nothing else matters. Just lose. All of those things happen, but lose that game by 20 points.
Yeah.
They have to be bad. And, I disagree with our good friend Eric Gunderson, who said, they're just inherently bad now. I would actually push back on that. If they keep these veterans, even if they trade them at the deadline, that team got incredibly lucky with injury stuff.
It did. Ant missed a ton of time. Robert Williams was out all year.
Sat out a little bit. Malk, they ended up kind of sitting him at the end. If those guys play, this team's not good, but they're not the worst.
They're not 12 wins, 13, 14, 15 wins bad.
Here's who you're competing against next year. It appears that Atlanta's in on this. We'll see. They can go a little further in this. The Wizards are definitely in on this.
Yeah, Atlanta hasn't moved Trae Young yet, right?
Not Trae Young.
People are expecting them to maybe do that.
Trae Young can get buckets, and they can still lose. They weren't very good with Trae Young last year.
This is true. They were 10 games below 500.
Detroit is not going to be very good next year. The Bulls are now all in on it. The Nets are all in on it. So what is that? That's 5.
Mm-hmm.
Toronto's kind of a wild card. I kind of throw them in this. So that's 6. Utah's probably going to trade Lauri Markkanen. And
maybe Kessler, too, right? Aren't they shopping Kessler a little bit?
Kessler's been out in the market, too. So there's maybe 6, 7, plus you. That's 8. Just go down the list here. You're in the running with a lot of teams. And again, you were bad this year, and you got the 7th pick. Detroit's been the worst, and they haven't had the number 1. Nothing is a given. It's a crapshoot. I get it. But I am quite literally telling you, I am okay going 0-82 if it gives you the best chance at the best percentage. That kid's better than advertised.
Yeah.
And Golliver is actually the one. I'll kind of push back on Golliver. We had him on an overtime a couple months ago, and he had said that basically Cooper is a really good number 2. And I think what we have learned since is Cooper might be a absolute number 1. If you're going to go out on a select team, and even though it's a scrimmage, and you're going to put buckets up against Drew Holiday and Anthony Davis, who are not wanting to be embarrassed by you in year 17.
As a senior in high school.
He's an absolute dog. It is everything you need right now, too, roster-wise, because you got 1, you think. You got your 2, you think. You just traded for your 3, and you drafted your 5. You're quite literally, your one spot that you need the most is his position. Go be 0-82. I don't care about culture. Chauncey's not going to be here again.
Amen.
Whole thing's going to get reset anyway.
Yes.
Be as bad as you possibly can. I don't often ask for that. They need to be for this kid.
Yeah, the idea of culture on a team that went to, what was their culture this year? They had vets all over the place. They had 2 of the worst. I know.
If the argument exists, I don't care.
No,
about
I've seen that argument because we do these things and they get clipped on YouTube, and then people jump in and say, "No, you need the vets for culture. You need the vets for the." Dude, they had vets on the team last year. They won 21 games and they suffered 2 of the worst losses in the history of the NBA. What culture is that establishing? This whole idea that you could be 40 games below 500 and establish a good culture because you have 3 vets on your roster, it just is dumb to me. The whole point of tanking is to lose as many games as possible and get the best draft pick. You know what establishes a culture? Cooper Flagg. That establishes a culture.
That's planting
not
a culture
Robert
flag,
Williams
isn't it?
being a vet who's a good guy in the locker room. I don't care. Cooper Flagg is your culture, man.
If vets are on this team for culture, then the culture is we just want to be paid and we're cool with losing. That's currently the culture right now.
Well, and I'll go back to something, and this situation won't happen this year because the guy's no longer on the team. But this to me, it kind of everything circles back to just the I don't know, decisions that Portland makes that don't make sense.
Okay.
And that being the head coaching move, right? You have a head coach at the end of the season last year who said, "What about this year? What did he want to accomplish?
He wants to
year?
win.
He wants to win. He wants to push for a play-in." If you're late in games, and you like last year, they had this multiple times where Brogdon's playing fourth quarter minutes instead of Scoot because you have a coach who was more concerned about winning games and saving his job, which I understand that from his perspective. But from an organizational perspective, the best thing to do is to develop your young guys, give them that experience. And let's be honest, at the end of the day, lose the game. That's a great byproduct of it. And maybe you wouldn't have slipped to 7 if you would have lost 3 or 4 more games this year. You could have stayed in the top 3.
Well, you lost the coin flip to Charlotte to be in that top 3.
To be in the top 3,
Yeah.
and because you tied them with the third worst record in the NBA, and the bottom 3 teams in the league have the equal odds to get the number 1 overall pick. So I just that is my big fear, is that they stand pat on a Jeremy Grant move. Nobody offers 2 firsts. No, there's not an overwhelming offer for Ant, and then we get these guys playing late in the year. Blazer fans cheer for a win in March, and you look up at the end of the season, and they end with the 6th worst record in the NBA because of exactly what you're highlighting. Detroit's going to win 10 games next year. Washington might be the worst team in the NBA.
Washington's aiming
Charlotte's
going to
be horrible. The Bulls are resetting. Like, you go up and down. You don't have a lot of competition in the West because I think San Antonio will take a steep step. Maybe Utah. Maybe Utah ends up being that team.
Yeah.
Utah won 10 more games than you this year, though. So, like, they have a bit of a gap there. That is my worst fear, is that vets stick around. You win a couple of games you shouldn't because your head coach is pushing to try and save his job and look for his next opportunity. And 2 percentage points might not make a big deal to the average fan out there. It makes a big deal to me, especially coming off a lottery 2 years ago where you missed a ping pong ball, missed Wemby by 1 ping pong ball.
Well, I mean, Washington is kind of my point. Like, win less than 21 games, and I'd be totally cool with that given what's at stake here. Look, the other side of the argument is certainly, well, guys, just because they are doesn't mean they'll get it. There's no doubt about it.
No.
This is what we've talked about along the way, though, is this is where tanking gets you in trouble, is if you do not get that number 1 pick, you miss out on that player, and you're the 2nd worst team in the league, and you fall to 4 in the draft. And now you've missed the top 3 players, presumably, unless somebody just falls to you. That's also the inherent risk and danger, and why nothing is a given of getting out of this kind of tanking, bottomless, rudderless situation.
It's a risk.
But you got to risk it. You're already too far in. You've traded Dame.
What's the point?
Just be bad. Be worse than last year.
4 more wins next year, so we can cheer on February 19th. Like, what are we doing, man? Lose them all, baby.
That's the other part, is they quit at the end of the year. They need to be quitting earlier than that.
Yes.
This nice, not like, hey, it's the last month. Now ramp it up. No.
Now.
Ramp it up in November.
Ramp it up now.
Ramp it up
now. Start now. It's July 10th.